Welcome to This Explainer. Imagine for a second that you're just standing in a perfectly ordinary modern environment. Maybe you're on a busy city street, or maybe you're just chilling in a park. But as you're standing there, if you look really closely at the edges of the buildings or the landscape around you, they start to gently dissolve. Just a little bit, revealing these glowing geometric grids, wireframes, and complex mathematical patterns hiding right beneath the surface. It's an incredibly cool thought experiment, and it perfectly illustrates the exact question we are exploring today. Is our perceived physical universe actually an elaborate, artificial, digital facade? Put simply, are we living in a computer simulation?
You know, we usually only ask questions about artificial consciousness when we're just casually browsing the web. We've all had this exact experience, right? You're trying to access a web page, you're in a hurry, and suddenly, boom, you are stopped in your tracks by a reCAPTCHA puzzle practically interrogating you, asking you to prove you're human. You have to click on all the squares containing a traffic light or a crosswalk just to prove to the machine that you aren't, well, a line of code yourself.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this incredibly mundane, everyday security check is actually the perfect metaphor for a much deeper cosmic skepticism. Think about it. When a website tells you your network might be sending automated queries, it's essentially asking you to verify your base reality. It's asking for proof of your humanity. But what if the automated query isn't just coming from your browser? What if it literally is you?
Now, humanity has actually been playing around with this exact brand of skepticism for a very long time. Way back in 300 BC, the Chinese Taoist sage Zhuang Zi wondered if he was a man dreaming of being a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming of being a man. Then, in 1641, René Descartes famously imagined this evil demon manipulating all of his sensory experiences. But notice how the timeline completely shifts in the modern era. In 1972, the crude video game Pong is released. By 1999, The Matrix brings the concept of a simulated reality to the massive global box office. And then, in 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom publishes a highly pivotal paper. The evolution here is pretty clear. Modern technology has taken these ancient, abstract philosophical thought experiments and turned them into actual statistical probability.
So, let's look at the math behind it. Section 1. The Ancestor Simulation Trilemma, decoding Nick Bostrom's 2003 argument.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that to peel back the ordinary layers of our world, we really have to look at the strict mathematical logic hiding right beneath the surface. This is Nick Bostrom's ancestor simulation argument, and it is absolutely the bedrock of modern simulation theory. The foundational assumption you need here is called substrate independence. For Bostrom's theory to work, we first have to accept this one idea. It suggests that consciousness is not some magical thing tied exclusively to the biological carbon inside our wet, mushy skulls. Instead, if you have a sufficiently complex computer program that structurally replicates the human brain in incredibly fine-grained detail, say all the way down to the synapses, that silicon system can possess genuine, subjective consciousness.
So, the crucial point is how this leads directly to Bostrom's famous trilemma. Based on the sheer, enormous computing power a technologically mature civilization would undoubtedly have, Bostrom argues that logically, at least one of these three distinct paths has to be true. Just one of them. Let's look at them. 1. We go extinct before ever reaching a highly advanced post-human stage. 2. We actually reach that stage, but absolutely no one is interested in running simulations of their evolutionary history. Or 3. We are almost certainly living in a computer simulation right now.
Before we jump straight to option 3, let's just neutrally examine the first two possibilities. Path 1 suggests that human-level civilizations generally just fail to reach maturity. They might accidentally destroy themselves with advanced technology, like self-replicating nanobots that end up consuming the biosphere. Path 2 suggests that even if a civilization does survive all that, they just never run ancestor simulations. Perhaps their desires radically change as they evolve, or maybe they establish strict universe-wide ethical bans against simulating conscious beings that might experience any kind of suffering. But if neither of those first two paths are universally true, we hit a truly staggering mathematical reality. 10 to the 42nd power. That is a rough estimate of the number of operations per second a single computer the size of a large planet could run. If an advanced civilization builds just one of these megacomputers, simulating the entire mental history of humankind would require less than 1/millionth of its processing power for a single second. Running millions or even billions of simulated realities basically becomes computationally trivial. It's a drop in the bucket for them.
And this brilliantly illustrates why so many tech thinkers today lean heavily toward the third option. As Elon Musk pointed out, 49 years later, games are photorealistic 3D worlds. What does that trend continuing imply about our reality? If you assume literally any rate of continuous improvement in our technology, eventually you reach a point where games become completely indistinguishable from reality. And if there are billions of simulated realities out there and only one base physical reality, statistically speaking, it is highly probable that we are one of the simulated ones.
Section 2. The Technological Bridge. Virtual reality in our daily lives.
Let's ground all this lofty cosmic philosophy in our present day, because this isn't just abstract math. Look closely at your own environment for a second. Try to imagine those faint computational textures bleeding into your everyday life right now, because we are actually building the primitive prototypes of these simulations today. To take this theory down to concrete data, just consider this number: 14.94 million. That is the massive number of virtual reality headsets shipped in the year 2022 alone. This isn't just a science fiction movie trope anymore, it's a rapidly growing consumer market. We are actively distributing the very tools to create localized, simulated realities to millions and millions of people.
As noted in a fascinating article from the University of Rochester, modern VR can already project worlds that effortlessly trick our human senses. The author recounts trying an Oculus Quest 2, physically swinging at a virtual punching bag and watching a laser gun fire right in their hands. They noted how unbelievably quickly the human brain just completely accepts the illusion. The sensation of being toyed with by a mere digital projection vanishes almost instantly. Our minds are remarkably, almost terrifyingly ready to accept a program framework as base reality.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, the value question, the meaning of a simulated life.
So, this brings up what philosophers call the value question. If you discover your entire universe is just running on a hard drive on some alien's desk, does that mean your life is entirely meaningless? Philosopher David Chalmers addresses this directly in his book, Reality Plus, and this is where we can pivot from sheer existential dread to a truly empowering perspective. Look at this comparison here. Base reality is made of flesh, biological particles, and quantum wave packets. A simulated reality would be made of digital ones, zeros, and computational math. Chalmers argues that a digital table in a virtual world is still a very real table to the person touching it or stubbing their toe on it. Being made of code doesn't disqualify a universe from being real, any more than being made of quantum waves does.
So what should you actually take away from all this? Honestly, finding out our world is built on a geometric grid wouldn't suddenly erase the love you feel for your family or the satisfaction of a really job well done. Your choices still hold weight. It is entirely possible to live a good, meaningful life in a virtual world. Because if we are in a simulation, our choices still remain our own. In fact, as one of our sources brilliantly points out, if this whole thing is a simulation, we should probably just be incredibly grateful that our simulators actually gave us the ability to compute free will in the first place. Which brings us to this wonderful, lighthearted quote from the science channel Kurzgesagt. Most importantly, let's hope that no one will trip over the power cable. It's just a great reminder to maintain a sense of humor as we act as curious observers of our strange technological reality. Whether we were forged by the fiery Big Bang or just booted up by a super-bored post-human civilization, we're still here experiencing it all.
I'll leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If your reality feels completely real to you, does it actually matter if the universe is made of atoms or advanced computer code? Take a look around your room right now. Seriously, observe the light hitting your desk. Listen to the sounds outside your window. Look at it all with a deep sense of wonder and curiosity. Keep your eyes peeled for those repeating architectural patterns, those subtle visual glitches, those impossible geometric alignments. Because whether it's a crazy cosmic coincidence or just a masterful piece of coding, it is quite a beautifully designed system, isn't it?